Hello, this is Heel Supersetman, unfiltered and proudly biased. This video is gonna upset a lot of people. Dorian Yates versus Greene, both in their absolute prime. Here's my theory. As balanced and aesthetic as the 90s bodybuilders were, they stand no chance against modern mass monsters when they're side by side on stage. To prove it, I'm taking the most dominant athlete of the 90s at his very best and putting him against the most underrated mass monster of all time, the Predator himself, Greene. Dorian's peak years were 1993 and 1995. I'm going with 1995 for one reason: extra mass. Since my whole premise is that the 90s guys weren't big enough, I'm not going to pick a smaller version. Now, I don't have actual footage from 95, so what you're seeing right now is 1996 Dorian. But for the direct comparison, I'll be using photos from 95. For I'm choosing his 2013 Prague Pro version, a hidden gem and, in my opinion, arguably the best he's ever looked. Front double biceps. Before we even start, one more tweak for fairness. Let's turn Greene's photo black and white so both guys are judged under the same lens. Now, we're not going to linger too long here. This is Dorian's weakest pose, and for arguably his very best. Has one of the most lethal biceps-triceps sweep combos in bodybuilding history, paired with an insane V-taper and superior wheels. Dorian, on the other hand, is at a disadvantage here, especially in 95 with that missing left bicep. He also looks a bit upper body heavy, lacking the quad sweep to balance the frame. Aside from the forearms, and yes, those legendary calves, Dorian's losing everywhere else. And for the record, Kai's calves are no joke either. First point, Greene. Next up, the front lat spread, and here we've got two of the best of all time. Among the Dorianites, it's almost heresy to suggest anyone beats him in this pose, and honestly, how could you? Sure, still wins in the legs. He's got the sweeps, and Dorian never really had that shape, though his quads here are solid. From the waist up, both are insanely wide, with textbook lat flare and those longer, slimmer arms that create more real estate for the lats to pop. Where Dorian pulls ahead is execution. His stance is pure mastery. The lats are massive and every other muscle group complements them perfectly. Meanwhile looks great but makes some posing choices that hold him back. Head tucked a bit too far down, that left leg stretched out awkwardly. Not deal breakers, but in a pose these iconic details matter. Conclusion. Is fantastic here, but this one still belongs to Dorian Yates. Side chest is a tricky one here because neither of them nails it, but they miss in very different ways. Dorian comes in drier with that granite look, but for this pose he almost looks skinny. Nothing really pops, not the chest, not the arms, not the delts. Side leg is solid, but by today's standards, maybe too small to impress. On the other hand looks full and compact. The chest pops, the guns are well defined, and that side leg, one for the ages, the capped off with arguably the best lateral calf head of all time. But here's the frustration, botches the execution. For one of the greatest posers in bodybuilding history, I've never liked how he hits this, crunching down, arching his back, and pushing the belly out instead of keeping it tight. Still, the visual impact is there. Dorian's only real advantages are the granite conditioning and a cleaner stance, not enough to take it. Point goes to but it's not a dominant win, and I'm keeping that in mind for the overall verdict. Back double biceps, and boy, this one's going to be a tough call. Greene is criminally underrated in this pose. Honestly, the only major thing he loses to Dorian here is the traps. Beyond that, Kai's lats are the best of all time in this pose. Then add in those insane arms with bicep peaks that from the back absolutely destroy Dorian. Lower body, not even close. Kai's hamstrings and glutes are on another planet. Dorian still edges him on calves, but Kai's aren't weak either, so it's not a decisive factor. Now, Dorian's back itself is iconic. Carved out of stone with density you just don't see anymore. If we were judging back versus back in isolation, Dorian probably takes it. But bodybuilding isn't backs only, and when you factor in the limbs, it becomes a case similar to Derek versus Nick at the Pittsburgh Pro, where Derek had the better back, but lost the pose overall because of weaker arms and legs. Even Tyler Mannion said that. So, with the total package in mind, point goes to the Predator Kai Greene. Unfortunately for Kai, his other back pose never matched the level of his back double. In the rear lat spread, that lack of traps really stands out, and while he's wide as a house, his short torso makes the back look compressed vertically, if that makes sense. For Dorian though, this is where he really shines. If his back double is iconic, his rear lat spread is even stronger. Take the arms out of the equation and you're looking at some of the best lats of all time, paired with flawless execution. Yes, he still loses the legs to Kai, no question there, but the dominance of Dorian's upper body in this shot makes it a clear, decisive win for the Shadow. Side triceps is next, and here Dorian looks miles better than he did in the other side pose. He's often credited with having one of, if not the single best side tricep shots in bodybuilding history, despite not being known for standout arms overall. In this pose though, everything clicks. The genius execution, the clean lines, and yes, even the triceps itself looks world class. Kai comes in more massive overall, but this just isn't a convincing showing for him. Presentation matters, and while Kai was a posing genius, his genius was in freestyling, not necessarily in the mandatories, and here, in a straight-up side triceps, Dorian takes him to school. Point to Dorian Yates, which ties the score at 3-3, each man now holding a win in a front pose, a side pose, and a back pose. Abs and thighs is next, and I know plenty of 90s nostalgics are already screaming Dorian Yates because of his seemingly superior taper, but how dare you? Kai Greene has the superior abdominals, crisp, deep, and commanding. And don't even get me started on the legs. There's absolutely no way Kai loses this pose to Dorian. Kai takes full control here. Dorianites often like to skip the most muscular because it was never mandatory during Dorian's career, but if we stopped now, Dorian would lose 4-3 to Kai. Okay, let's say that the back double should go to Dorian, and as usual, being the master of the 7 mandatories, Dorian would win. This is all I'm giving to you, Dorianites. Your favorite most muscular is next. And Dorian Yates is not winning this pose. I'm looking and searching and there's not a single detail I would give him aside from the crisper look and maybe again a cleaner stance. But Kai Greene, although not known for having the greatest most muscular, does more than enough here to beat Dorian in my opinion. So in conclusion, the huge version of Kai Greene from 2013 was a bit too much for Dorian Yates as he looked back in the 90s, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, Dorian is still the greater bodybuilder with more accolades, and maybe if Dorian had Kai's tools and the modern judging criteria, he could have achieved the look to beat him. But the point of this video is that the 90s guys were too flat to compete with today's mass monsters. Even though they had better balance judged fairly, modern athletes are just too big for even the best from the 90s, says Supersetman.